Boston police are now indicating they know the identities of 4 young men who attacked black lawyer Ted Landsmark while he was on his way to a meeting at City Hall yesterday. One of the youths, a 16-year-old South Boston high school student, is under arrest, charged as a juvenile with assault and battery for allegedly kicking Landsmark. And police have issued a warrant for the arrest of 17-year-old Joseph Rakes. They will charge him and 2 others as yet unnamed with yesterday's attack. The Massachusetts House of Representatives rarely agrees on anything, but it has unanimously passed a resolution condemning what happened. Governor Dukakis has issued a similar statement. There have been more developments today, covered now by Pam Bullard.
Boston's latest racial confrontation occurred yesterday in City Hall Plaza. After months of building tension, a group of white youths viciously attacked a black attorney, Theodore Landsmark. Landsmark was on his way to a meeting in City Hall when he was beaten by youths who were part of a gathering of 250 South Boston and Charlestown high school students who were protesting busing. The attack occurred moments after the students, on an invitation from City Councilwoman Louise Day Hicks, had demanded changes in and an end to the desegregation. The black attorney was just one of several people harassed by the youths in the plaza. He was treated at Mass General for a broken nose and facial lacerations. Today in City Hall Plaza, black community leaders decried the assaults, charging police failed to respond effectively and that leadership in the city had encouraged a growing violence. Black leaders, in their strongest statement to date since desegregation began in September 1974, said the city of Boston is no longer safe.
People of color are not safe to come here to Boston, and we're asking people across the country of color to stay away. Further, we issue a call for all persons of color to band together, for it is now that this bizarre situation of outright racism in Boston must stop. And we must come to the realization that if Boston state officials will not protect us, we must ask for federal protection. And ladies and gentlemen, short of that, we must seek to protect ourselves.
The black leader's anger was also directed to Mayor Kevin White, that he had allowed the violence to grow by not condemning students who disrupted schools, and that the use of City Hall for anti-busing rallies has only accelerated the growth of racial intolerance.
I supported the re-election of Mayor Kevin White. Today, I'm withdrawing that vote of confidence that I gave him in September and in November.
Black leaders from the legislature and community offices appeared united in their attitude that the mayor and police commissioner Robert DeGrazia had broken their promises to the black community.
And that is that absolutely no breach of public safety will be tolerated. Absolutely no threat to bus or school or child will escape swift and severe punishment.
To those hoodlums, harassers, those disruptors, we will no longer tolerate your illegal, violent behavior. I promise you, you will be arrested. You will be charged. And if I have anything to say about it, you will be prosecuted.
Both Commissioner DeGrazia and Mayor White say they have not broken their promises. DeGrazia's men are confident the guilty will be apprehended. Mayor White, while condemning the violence, had no comment on the calls from some parts of the black community for his resignation. And in South Boston, James Kelly, the head of the Home and School Association, said the violence was the fault of a liberal press. 2 facts do stand out. 1, that the racial tension in Boston is the strongest in many months, and 2, that there appears to be no force anywhere trying to ease that tension.
Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn no fresher than whole, riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm lurking, yeah. Can't none of y'all mirror me back. Yeah, hear me rappers like Hand G rapping his prime. I'm Young H.O., raps Grateful Dead. Back to take over the globe and I break bread. I'm in Boeing Jets, Slow Express. Out the country but the blueberries still connect. On the low but the yacht got a triple deck. But when you young, what the fuck you expect? Yep. Grand opening, grand closing. Goddamn your manhole, crack the can open again. Who you gonna find open in hand with no pen? Just draw inspiration. So you gonna see you can't replace him with cheap imitation from these generations. Encore, do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn balls. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Now look what you made me do, look what I made for you. Knew if I paid my dues, how will they pay you? When you first come in the game, they try to play you. Then you drop a couple of hits, look how they wave to you. From Marcy to Madison Square, to the only thing that matters is just a matter of years. As fate will have it, J status appears to be at an all-time high. Perfect time to say goodbye. When I come back like Joy, we're in the 4-5. It ain't to play games with you, it's to aim at you. Probably name you, if I owe you, I'm blowing you to smithereens. Cop 7, take one for your team, and I need you to remember one thing. I came, I saw, I conquered. Record sale, sold out concert. So motherfucker, if you want this encore, I need you to scream till your lungs get sore.
It's star time. This man is mean. He's killing all y'all die turkeys. Y'all want more than Chicken Man? Well, if y'all want more than Chicken Man, then I need y'all to help me bring him back to the stage. Say ho. Come on, say it. Hold up, hold up. Are y'all out there? Are y'all out there? Come on, loud. Yeah. Now see, that's what I'm talking about. They love you, Jigga. They love you, Jigga.
I like the way this one feels. It's so motherfucking soulful, man.
They are creating, especially around elections.
Pat Morris in the house.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Pat Morris in the house.
Pat Morris is on her way. She's got an urgent phone call. Do you have this slide down?
I understand that there.
Let me pull the question document. If you have any problem with press, I'm going to have to put you out. Okay, so you're clear of his hand rest. Electronic rest. Electronic, I don't care any kind. I'm going to have to be put out.
I understand there may be some problem with the press and union people. I want the union people to understand that I've done some union organizing. I want the non-union people to understand that this is, in my judgment, well, I want everyone to understand that this is, in my judgment, an issue which is a little bit too large for us to be fighting over union questions right here and right now. I would expect you guys to resolve that among yourselves, but I want everyone to have an opportunity for this press conference to film it, and then you folks work it out in the editing room or the cutting room or wherever else you're going to do it, but not here. I'm glad that you all could come. Now, I'm not really used to this kind of publicity, although I guess I'm getting an awful lot of national and international publicity this week. I'm sorry that my voice is as nasal as it is, but I hope that you'll bear with me on that. I'd like to read a brief statement and open myself up briefly for some questions. For some obvious reasons, I will not be able to be here for a very long time. I lost a fair amount of blood, and I've been trying to rest for the past couple of days, but I didn't want things to drag on for too long without making some sort of statement to you folks, so I appreciate your being here. I am making myself available to the media today, despite the extent of my injuries and my need to rest, because I am deeply concerned that the drama of my being beaten in front of City Hall and the response that that incident has elicited may overshadow and distort certain issues which are critical, in my judgment, to Boston's future and to the well-being of blacks and whites who live and work in Boston. These are issues to which I have devoted my life and my work, and I am now as much injured by their distortion as by my physical assault, as from the physical assault which I incurred this past Monday. First, I wish to make a few comments about the attack itself. For the most part, the sequence of events has been recorded accurately. I was on my way to an affirmative action liaison committee meeting with the Boston Redevelopment Authority to discuss certain construction contracts which are about to be let in the south end of Boston. I was taken by surprise, and I was beaten and kicked by a crowd of young people coming from an anti-busing rally in City Hall. It is not correct that Deputy Mayor Clarence Jeep Jones was on the scene with me and ran away. I greatly regret that Mr. Jones's actions have been misreported by certain of the wire services. I particularly regret any suggestion that he ran away because Jeep was the first person, and to my knowledge the only person, who left City Hall to come to my aid. Jeep escorted me to an ambulance, spent the entire morning with me at the hospital, and only left when, at my suggestion, I felt that his services were no longer needed. His leaving City Hall when he did was, in my judgment, an extremely courageous act. And additionally, in face of the films which I reviewed this morning, he appears to be about the only person who did leave City Hall to come out to my assistance as I staggered around in City Hall Plaza. Secondly, I wish to make clear that I intend at this time to seek all legal courses of action to secure remedies that are available to me. I have consulted with attorneys, and I intend to see that all those responsible for the violence of this nature are fully prosecuted. I intend to take such legal actions as are necessary, pursuing both criminal and civil remedies against certain members of the Boston City Council and the Boston School Committee to ensure that the Boston City Hall can no longer be used as a sanctuary for racism and a resource center for those who would incite and encourage racist violence, and for those who would perpetuate the less dramatic but more effective day-to-day pattern of discrimination against people of color in Boston. Third, I want to express my appreciation for the many, many acts of kindness and courage which have been directed towards me as a result of my having been an object of this attack. it is encouraging to see a positive and constructive response coming from many persons in the black and white communities who have been silent for too long. I would point out that such commitments, particularly from the white community, could have prevented much of the racial hostility in Boston had they been made meaningful prior to the violence. I appreciate the strong and immediate response of the Black Caucus. I appreciate the strong support given to me by the Board of Directors of the Contractors Association of Boston, my employer, and by the Massachusetts Black Lawyers Association. I have been really very deeply touched by the kindness and what seems to be a very genuine concern of individuals who've called me, some as far away as San Francisco, from all over the country. I also want to express my thanks to the news photographers and TV cameramen on the scene who held their ground and kept the camera steady in the face of a lot of confusion and danger. I should note as a sidelight that I've done some photojournalism myself, and I know that what you folks did was very difficult. Of course, I wish that someone, as a simple act of humanity, had come to help me, but I do not know whether that was really possible. I do know that without the photographic record that those of you in the media established, it would be highly improbable that a remedy would be available to me, and the incident would have ended up being recorded as just another scuffle on the streets of City Hall Plaza. I've worked for a number of years on economic and social development issues in communities of color and other economically depressed areas throughout the East Coast. Racism is the apparent direct cause of Monday's unprovoked attack on me. But such racism has been fueled by, in my judgment, selfish political leaders who've been unable or unwilling to address themselves much more seriously to the hardcore economic and social problems Boston faces. We continue to need jobs and housing and high-quality education and human decency for all the people of Boston, and I will continue to work towards those ends. Retaliatory violence will not solve these problems, but continued work by those of us in communities of color to strengthen our communities will. We have now the economic and the political strength to come to solutions for these problems. And Monday's attack, in my mind, only serves to underline the necessity of our using our economic and political strength to better social benefit for all of us. I think it unfortunate that the attack on me is already being used by some people for their own narrow ends and justifications. The issue goes far beyond safety in the streets. We cannot solve complex problems with simplistic solutions or with emotional overreactions. My first thoughts when I got to my feet in City Hall Plaza and I saw Jeep Jones were to get to the mayor to discuss matters of affirmative action in city contracting which seriously need his attention. And you will note as you review those films that I stood up and kept on my way in towards City Hall because it was clear to me as to what my purpose for being in City Hall was on Monday. While I do not agree with the statement that I understand Mr. Pottinger of the Department of Justice has made, that this is an isolated incident, I do feel that the issue of safety is only a small part of the problem. We must avoid being exploited and having this act of violence exploited to distract attention from the complex and extremely urgent problem of the life of this city and the lives of black and white people and all colored peoples in this city. Safety is not the issue. Busing is not the issue. The issue involves the participation of citizens of color in all levels of business and government that affect the life of this city. And by that I mean participation on an equal basis, and not just as human rights officers and affirmative action officers, and not just as shields to cover the white power structure's indifference towards communities of color. The issue of racism must no longer be subordinated in this city. Federal, state, and local officials must act now to enforce all of the law. By that I mean not just the law with respect to safety, but all the body of civil rights and affirmative action law which affects programs in this city. Business, both of color and white, and government must start to work now purposefully to create a sound economic environment within the communities in which citizens of color now live and work. That includes City Hall Plaza. The liaison committee that I was on my way to participate in at City Hall is one example of contractors and community citizens and government officials of color and white working together effectively to increase minority participation in city construction projects and to resolve mutual problems and to provide ultimate benefits to all the people of Boston. My legal actions now are inevitably tied to the purpose of my presence in City Hall Plaza last Monday. While I have been hurt and wronged personally by the attack, it is people of color and humanity everywhere who will benefit from a satisfactory resolution of Boston's problems. Thank you.
You say you're going to take all possible legal action available to you, particularly against city officials who you feel created this atmosphere in the city that led to your attack. Can you name names and exactly what kind of legal action? Federal court?
I'm reluctant to name names now because I am a potential plaintiff in several lawsuits, and I don't think that anyone would want to prejudice those lawsuits at this time.
Obviously, when you refer to City Hall being used as a sanctuary, are you referring to City Council President Louise Day Hicks, who invited these students into the chamber?
I won't comment on that other than the comment that I think was very aptly made this morning by the editorialist of the Boston Globe. The kids who beat me up, as far as we can tell, and as far as the Globe suggested in its editorial this morning, I don't know whether I should rely upon that as truth or not, but the people who beat me up were people who were violating the truancy law. They were marching on City Hall Plaza without a parade permit. They were invited in ostensibly to get out of the cold on what has been one of the warmest days in recent history in Boston after a very long winter. And they marched out of the plaza into an area where there were a number of policemen, most of whom, as far as we could tell, didn't get to me until after the attack had occurred. Now, I'm not going to make any judgments on any of that. I think the courts will make whatever judgments have to be made. And as I say, I'm very reluctant to name any. I'm not a policeman. I do not know how they would generally deploy their police to control an unlicensed parade. And I think that the courts will make whatever judgments they may make should the police be brought into the matter.
Mr. Landmark, the Black Caucus yesterday called for the resignation of Mayor White. Do you support them on that?
I think that the Black Caucus is working to attempt to get from Mayor White a level of leadership on problems of affirmative action, busing, employment, and other areas with statement is a step in that direction.
Better leadership from the mayor is what you're talking about.
Better leadership from the mayor's office, yes.
What's been the impact around the world of the photographs and the reports of this incident?
Well, I'll tell you, I wish I could go around the world right now to check it out. No, in a more serious vein, I've gotten calls from Washington and Dayton, Ohio, and Oakland and San Francisco. By and large, people are appalled. I'm appalled. I gather leaders in the city of Boston are appalled. There doesn't seem to be much of a difference in people's reactions outside of Boston, really.
Do you think that, is there any program or any way that you feel that the people of this city can get together and work out something that could prevent another incident?
Well, I do think that there are a number of concrete programs that can be implemented at this moment, but I don't think a press conference here and now is the place to discuss those programs. Those are among the things I plan to talk to the mayor about. It's also the case that I have a meeting with Senator Brooke next Monday, and I expect that he and I will talk about the same thing.
The four men and their families are buried on the land they settled as freed slaves after the American Revolution. The settlement in later years became Plymouth town property, but 15 acres of it was sold to the museum group for $1 a couple of years ago. The group seeks to foster an understanding of Afro-American history through an understanding of
slave masters.
Why is this site and this project so important?
The fact that it lies in Plymouth, America's symbolic hometown, the fact that not too many people identify the Afro-American experience with America's symbolic hometown, the fact that black men who were slaves were freed for fighting the American Revolution, and the continuity of that settlement is the significant factor. The fact that we actually found African survivals on the settlement that prove the identity of these men, or that the fact that they didn't lose their culture, is very important.
To make the tradition that is here lasting, Parting Ways has two goals. One is to have the area designated a National Historic Site. The other is to raise enough money to build a museum and research center here, possibly including a reconstructed dwelling house. I'm Joe Day, News Center 5 in Plymouth.
I think the children are aware of the way we feel that that attending integrated schools is of value, that living in an integrated neighborhood would be of value. And we like what the city has to offer in terms of culture and transportation, and we just want to stay.
I don't tend to see it in terms of busing. I first see it in terms of a balanced education, and that if transportation is provided, we'll take advantage of it. If not, then we'll have to make other arrangements as a family to get our children to the schools they're going to.
But it's worth it for you to suffer some little difficulty just in behalf of that principle that the schools should be equitable and balanced for all people.
Sure it is. That's why we're in Dorchester. That's why we want to stay, because we think we want our children to experience that kind of learning.
Black and white people will like each other better, and then there won't be any more fights in schools with black and white people.
We're receiving hundreds of calls at the present time, and everyone is saying, will it really happen in September? Are our children really going to be forcibly bused out of the neighborhood? Because if that's so, Louise, they say, we're moving out.
And Mrs. Revliotis herself is thinking of selling her home. You'll see a few for sale signs, but not many as you drive through Hyde Park. Selling a home is one thing, but selling it to escape the imbalance law seems too sensitive a decision to advertise. Also, some homeowners in mostly white Hyde Park admitted to me they are determined to avoid selling their homes to non-white families. It is at best a distasteful, disturbing situation. At worst, it is an ugly one. But there are homes for sale and few buyers on Metropolitan, Huntington, and Austin streets. Homes with schools down the street. Homes like this one.
I want my children in the neighborhood schools, and I have no intentions of busing them.
If you had to stay here, what would you do next September?
Keep my children at home.
Now, you live on Taunton Street, and there are several other people on this street who are also going to sell their homes. What's going to happen to the people who stay here, who don't sell their homes?
Well, I feel sorry for them. There's a lot of people that can't move, can't afford to move. But and the way I feel, my children come.
One real estate agent says the calls from Hyde Park parents seeking to sell their homes have exceeded her company's ability to handle them in the past 3 weeks.
Many of these people that have called me, I would say in the neighborhood of 40, some odd, to my own home, close to 100 at the business. They've made the decision. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to, another word about any court hearings or any appeals or anything else. They're just going to go. I think we're going to eventually see, and the quote has been passed back and forth for the last couple of weeks, but I think what we're going to see is a black urban city.
Well, as far as I could see now, I don't think I'm going to send my son away from his house.
What are you going to do?
I think I might have to go to jail.
Do you think a lot of other fathers or parents feel the same way as you do?
I believe so. I bought this house 2 years ago, and I feel that I bought it for the purpose of him going close.
Richard, you're 10 years old, and next year, if the law is implemented, you're going to have to be bused to a school that's several miles away, and you won't be going to the school you've been going to for 5 years. How do you feel about that?
I'd feel strange. I'd feel strange and scared.
Why would you be scared?
Well, every new school that I go to, I always get scared a little bit, because there's all different kids in there. When I leave something, it scares me.
In some ways, the parents who plan to stay and defy the law may be more of a problem than those who simply leave. The latter may be lamented and gradually forgotten. But the frustrated parents who stay behind can neither be forgotten nor ignored. And while there's a chance that September may go smoothly, there is realistically at least an equal chance that the month of September and the school year that follows may be among the most difficult in the city's history. From Hyde Park, Mike Taibbi, Channel 5 News.
The youngsters, they don't understand this problem. And I don't think some of the grown-ups do either. And don't you think it's up to the city of Boston, who's in charge, to make sure that they do have teachers teaching in these schools to give the proper education?
Jim, when I speak with people who are either trying to defy the law or are trying now to escape the law, they give me two basic reasons. One, of course, is economic. They're afraid that if the situation gets out of hand and develops as the law suggests it might, their property values might go down, whether they leave or not. And the second reason they always give is they point to their instincts as parents and say, I don't want my children to be traumatized, because it's going to be a traumatic and difficult time next September. How have you as a parent and a father dealt with both of those reasons?
Well, I think I believe that real estate values don't necessarily have to go down. I'm not a homeowner, and so I don't feel the immediate pressure that some homeowners may feel. But in some of my experiences in talking with people, I've just come to believe myself that there's no need for real estate values to go down because of such integration of peoples. In terms of the traumatization of families, I think of a family that goes at it together and they understand all of the implications. If they feel free in moving through a community, as I think our family does. We've been to a number of the schools that the children will be going to. We know the facilities, we know some of the teachers, we know some of the community activities. It's sort of a natural move. It's always hard to change schools, to change some friends, but I think it can be done in a very positive way as a family. Transportation-wise may cause some inconvenience, but I think we can handle that too.
Does it strike you as extraordinary that the decision to allow your children to be bused to another school to achieve racial balance, something as I think obvious as a necessity in this time is racial balancing in the schools, equal education. Does it strike you as extraordinary that that decision should be such a difficult one?
Oh, it's not a difficult one for us.
Mrs. Todd, how do you feel personally about the racial imbalance bill, and what have you and your family decided to do about it come September?
Well, basically, I feel that the racial imbalance law is a good idea. I feel that one of the problems is that the school committee, a long time ago, did not take the responsibility of drawing up some kind of plan to implement it. And because they didn't, someone else had to do it. And the state plan, I don't think is a really great plan. Has a lot of insensitive things in it. But because the school committee did not do it, someone had to do it, and now it's law. And I feel that it's an attempt. Boston people could have done it better, but they didn't. So we're stuck with something that's less than what it should be.
how have you and your family come to a decision about how to handle it and your involvement with it next September? Have you had meetings? Have you?
Yes, yeah, all 3 children, looks like, will be going to different schools. The 5th grader, because the schools will be ending, or the junior highs will be starting at 6th grade, means a big change for him. And the other 2 will be going to a different school.
Do you feel that with your point of view you're in the majority opinion or the minority opinion in this city? And you've had a chance to see what your neighbors feel and people in other parts of the city feel. How do you think you fit in?
Well, I think statistics are hard. I don't feel that maybe we're in the majority in the way that we feel, but I think there are a lot of other people who feel like we do. I think that there are a lot of people who believe because it is a law that they're going to comply with it.
There have been some meetings of new organizations that have sprung up trying to promote just that point of view. What organizations are those, and are they picking up steam? What are they doing now?
The only organization that I'm really familiar with, well, I've heard of one in Jamaica Plain that is working on the issues of racial tension and so forth. There is a group that's new in Dorchester that is just like working on who they are and what their goals are and so forth. But the basic thing about this group is they're concerned about the racial tension in the city and want to do something positive about that. And the response has been very, very good. They're meeting at the Dorchester Y. There have been people from both races. It's getting off to a very good start in trying to deal with people's attitudes about each other as human beings.
Can they sort things out by September to the point where any violence might be avoided?
I don't know. The group is just beginning to get started. I think they can have a really positive input into at least the Dorchester situation.
Steve, you're 8 years old. How do you feel about being bused to a school that you don't know, to go to school with children you don't know next year?
Well, at first, I thought it wasn't going to be good, and then my mother and father told me what it was going to be all about, and then I thought that it was going to be a fine going to another school, being bused.
What do you understand it as being all about next year? What do you think it's all about?
So, yes.
Okay.
Street is like many other streets in Hyde Park where not 1 or 2 but a half dozen or more homes are up for sale. And what for years has merely been rumored as the most destructive potential effect of the racial imbalance bill, the dramatic exodus of families from the city, is now fact. It's happening, whatever the motives, and city and school officials will have to face it. In Hyde Park, Mike Taibbi, Channel 5 News. Mr. Deeb, you and your family are typical of the families who live in this neighborhood, this section of Hyde Park, who have to confront the racial imbalance law and its implementation next September. Now, it's going to have a profound effect on you and your family, as it will on other families. What are you going to do next September if there are no changes? That's a drastic step to take. Why would you defy the law?
I'll defy the law because I don't think it's right for the children to be bused that far from school.
It's just a question of the busing then itself.
That's the busing, yes.
You don't see this as a racial issue. Nothing you've told me has indicated that you just don't want your children to go to school with black children.
I have nothing.
What is the issue?
I have nothing against any colored, black or white. I just feel that's my issue. Yeah.
If enough families and parents feel the way you do, what do you think is going to happen next September when school is supposed to open? Do you think there's going to be a tremendous confrontation or just a lot of confusion?
There's going to be a lot of confusion.
Nancy, you told me that when you go to the hairdresser, the big topic that's under discussion is people selling their homes. How many people want to sell their homes? Is it a big thing right now?
Oh, yes. It's quite a big thing. They feel that if they can't buy their home in the vicinity where there's a school because of the little children going to close to the neighborhood, that they'll move out of the district where this busing won't interfere with their youngsters.
Your 10-year-old son. What do you think is wrong with that?
Well, I'm just speaking for myself because at this moment, because my child does have an emotional problem. And I don't know how many other children do have this problem. But I think the youngsters, when they're from 1st grade to 6th grade, should be closer to home because a lot of problems do come up. For one thing, if a mother doesn't have a car, the child gets sick, how is she going to get to her child? The taxi will have to take him home. If the children like my child has a problem, what am I supposed to do? Have him going to school screaming, carry him out? I do that now, and he's only a block away from home. If it comes September that this does happen, I may either, if I can, put him in a private school, or either have a private tutor if it involves his health, physically and mentally. Or I really don't know. It's so hard to say because you don't know if it's going to really work out.
You can see the possibility that it might just work smoothly for enough people that, you know, people will get used to it after a couple of years.
It's going to take more than a couple of years, I think, really. Because whether, I think the majority of the people think this is a racial imbalance problem, but I think myself, if there aren't enough schools in the vicinity where they claim that this child has to be bused because there are not proper facilities in their neighborhood, well, I think it's up to the city of Boston or even the governor himself to make sure that they do provide a school in this vicinity.
Okay, now here's an important point. Both of you conceded when I talked to you before that prospect of being bused. What would you suggest as a solution that could be implemented by September?
Because of the education, so
Right.
everyone can get
Right.
an equal education? Well, this is the city of Boston you're talking about, right? Why can't, I mean, I really don't know how to answer that one right now. Children have got education years ago in all schools in the vicinity of Boston. We've got professors, college professors, teachers from all schools, whether you went to Dorchester, Roxbury, East Boston, Hyde Park, that for reading. They claim the schools in the suburbs are much more advanced for reading than the children of Boston. But I don't know. I think
Just provide better education in all the schools then?
That's it.
Okay.
I think that'll solve a big problem. And if the child wants to be bused or wants to go to another school, I think it's up to the child when they reach the age of high school. They're old enough to realize what education they would like to have. It's their prerogative then if they want to go to a trade school, like I said before, a business school, or whatever. They're old enough to understand life then, I believe, and what the problem is. But you can't do it to the youngsters, because I think it's very unfair to them.
Thank you.
The Boston Housing Authority has appealed Judge Garrity's decision on the grounds it does not have the money to comply with the law. Lawyers for the tenants say it is incumbent upon the legislature to provide the necessary funds to implement their laws. Natalie Jacobson, Channel 5 News. To families and elderly living in state-subsidized housing projects, Judge Garrity's decision means a $15 to $25 a month rent decrease and, on the average, a $500 rebate check. There are 60,000 state-subsidized housing units throughout the Commonwealth, 11,000 of them in Boston. According to 1970 and 71 Commonwealth statutes, people living in these projects cannot be required to pay more than 25% of their income for rent. Yet, the Boston Housing Authority has charged amounts well in excess of that limit. Tenants from D Street and Franklin Field housing projects fought for and won a court decision demanding the statutes be enforced.
Yes. This means, with the cost of living so high and the less money that the people are getting in public housing and very, very poor people, this means a little more meat on the table, better shoes on the children, and better clothing. Not only better, but more clothing. With the rents that they were paying, it just wasn't done. You take a family on welfare with one child that only gets $103 every 2 weeks. This means that they would be paying approximately $42 the most for rent. This means more bread, more milk, more meat on the table.
I'm not prejudiced, but I like it regular white people, this neighborhood here.
That was the feeling in the Old Colony housing project last October. 9 months have passed, and little's changed.
The Southie's always been a white town. I think it should stay that way.
What do you think will happen when they do move in?
It's going to be a lot of trouble.
They just want to just put them in and that's it. They should just, give us fair warning that this is happening, and Ray Flynn doesn't do that. He just says, I'm putting them in and that's that.
But there was warning. Mayor Ray Flynn announced plans to desegregate South Boston's public housing projects back in October. In January, he even came to Southie to try and explain the policy to his friends and neighbors. Their response was loud and clear.
Over the past 6 months, evidence has mounted that discrimination did play a role in keeping blacks out of housing projects like this one, but that time and that evidence has done little to change attitudes in South Boston about welcoming blacks as neighbors. Do you think that people have changed at all in the last 6 months?
No. I think a lot of people got to be mad if they move in. It's going to be a lot of trouble.
I don't think they're going to change at all. But because they like the neighborhood the way it is.
Everybody's afraid, you know, where she's moving out, that they're going to put blacks right here. But it ain't going to bother me one bit, you know. They need an apartment, too. They got children, they need it, you know.
Do you think your neighbors feel the same way?
Some and some don't, you know.
So what will happen if a black did move in this apartment?
Good luck to them. You know, I just hope nobody bothers them and starts throwing rocks at them, you know.
Ironically, these people are not the ones who stopped blacks from living here. It's been city policy for 50 years. Now the city says that that will change. Nonetheless, some in Southie feel that the city's application process still will be biased.
When they start talking about blacks and Spanish and stuff like that, that's discriminating. You shouldn't even have to write what color you are on the application. You know, you should just write your name down. That way they couldn't discriminate.
And always in Southie, talk of integration opens old wounds, wounds brought on by busing.
What happened was it deteriorated all the schools. I mean, no one, you talk to most of these people, no matter how poor they are, they're sending their kids to private schools because the school system is like Southie High, forget it. You go up there and you don't want to even go in, you know what I mean?
Do you think that would happen with public housing, too?
I'm afraid it will. I think, about black people in general, it's just they deteriorate. Like, I live here now, but honestly, I feel like they move in, I'll move out.
The BHA hasn't said when the first blacks will move in. For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Meg Valancourt.
We tried to do before with the forced busing and the forced beaching. They tried to share the beach, and a lot of violence came out of it.
I'm not prejudiced, but I like it regular white people, this neighborhood here. You know? There'll be a war here.
At the South Boston Old Colony Housing Project, no one has any black neighbors, and they don't want any now either. According to the Boston Housing Authority, there are almost 2,400 families living here. Only 39 are Hispanic, Asian, or American Indian. There are no blacks. Today, Mayor Flynn announced that he was changing that. Black families on the BHA's waiting list, he said, will move into the South Boston projects sometime next year. Residents of those projects reacted strongly.
You can look at Mission Hill Project. Like I said, I was born there. I remember it being nice. But you can go and look at it now, and look at Columbia Point. Look at anywhere that, God forgive me for saying it like that, but where they've moved in.
What do you think the reaction will be?
A lot of gang fights. It'll just be a riot. Everybody doesn't want them in here.
I moved from Dorchester, and where I was an all-white neighborhood, and they integrated it. And once they did that, I'll tell you, I've seen people lose their legs because of it. No, I wouldn't want to see it again.
I want this done in a very responsible, professional way that we had in Charlestown so that there'd be no community disruption. It's not something that can be rushed or forced. It's something that has to be done with a level of planning from the people in the community.
But if total desegregation is the goal, Charlestown isn't much to crow about. 900 families live in the Charlestown projects, and only 45 families aren't white. And civil rights advocates argue that in South Boston, both the mayor and the BHA has done too little, too late.
Notice right now that if the solution is not quick, within the next 30 or 40 days, then I would recommend to the secretariats that we cannot trust that their monies will be used in a non-discriminatory fashion, and that money will not be rendered to the city.
How much money is at risk?
Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars, I understand.
It's clear the pace of integration in South Boston's projects has been painfully slow. A spokesman for the BHA today claimed it was simply a result of the authority's first-come, first-served policy. Whites were further along on the waiting list for the South Boston projects, the BHA said. But others argue that when it came to South Boston, the authority ignored hundreds of black and Hispanic families also on the list.
That's not what the housing authority is doing. They are, in fact, denying people entrance into particular projects because of their race, and that's illegal.
I think it's very unfair that some people won't be able to live here where they've lived all their lives, to move in other people that, I don't know, why do they even want to live here? Why would they want to bring their little children here to be subjected to whatever is going to happen?
There was one black working in the Old Colony housing project this afternoon, and he answered that question. Would you be willing to live here?
Well, I work here, so I don't see no reason why not. Yeah, because I get along pretty good.
Do you think the mayor's stand on this issue will cost him votes?
Yes, I do. I think it'll cause him to lose votes.
For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Meg Valancourt.
Okay. All right, I'm going to run through each of you and ask you for your name and to spell it for me so I get it straight, okay? Tell me your name.
Domingo Rivera. D-O.
Go ahead, spell it slow.
D-O-M-I-N-G-O. R-I-V-E-R-A.
Okay, makes perfect sense now that I hear it, okay?
Ramon Alicia. R-O-M-O-N. R-A-M-O-N. A-L-I-C-E-A.
Okay.
Crystal Roach. C-R-Y-S-T-A-L-R-O-A-C-H.
Okay, and
Mark Benjamin. M-A-R-K-B-E-N-J-A-M-I-N.
Okay, terrific. Do you hear that okay, Raj? That's all right. Just speak up a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. Crystal, you've been going to school here 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. What program are you in now?
College program.
Pardon me?
College.
Okay. You say that you work at State Street Bank?
Yeah.
Okay. What type of things do you do there? How does that work?
Well, there's a lot of paperwork and machine work, so there are different computers in different departments. And we work with credit cards. Is what we work with, really.
Now, when you finish up here, will you probably go and work at State Street?
Well, for a while, maybe. I'll have to go to college, though.
Where do you think you'll go to college?
I don't know yet.
Is it getting that time of year to fill out applications, right?
Yeah, I know.
Are you hoping for a scholarship or something like that?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay. Ramon, you've been going here 4 years?
No,
How many?
3.
3 years. Okay, what program are you in?
College.
Okay. Are you involved in any of the activities outside the school?
Yeah, Upward Bound.
Upward Bound?
Yeah.
Okay, how does that work? Explain that to me.
Like, they'll give you tutorial help on the classes, and they'll help you fill out the application for college. And they'll help you with all that stuff, to get into college. And they give you the free waivers and stuff, so it'll be easier for us.
Where do you want to go to college? Have you decided yet?
No, not really.
Do you play, I saw you carrying a gym bag. Do you play sports or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna play football this year at school.
Okay. A little bit louder. How long have you been going to school?
3 years.
Okay. What program are you in?
College.
Okay. And anything? Oh, you said you're outside the school.
Yeah.
In what?
I'm also in Upward Bound.
Okay. Now, did you go through the tutorial program also?
Yeah. Taking an English class over there.
Okay. Where have you decided where you want to go to college?
Not really. There's a lot of places.
Okay. All right. Mark. Yeah. How will you do? Okay, Mark, how many years have you been at Roxbury High?
3 years.
Okay, and you're in the college program also?
Yes.
Okay. Are you in anything outside the school?
No.
Okay, so you're just straight college. And the college program, what courses do you take? What course are you taking this year?
Science. I'm into science. I want to major in science course. It all depends on my chemistry now.
and then I major in go to college and study my science. I haven't decided which college I want to go to as yet.
But you definitely want to go to college?
Yes.
Okay. Is there something that you like in particular about this school, Roxbury High?
Well, the teachers are okay. I think the school is a pretty nice school, but it all depends on the students to cooperate and get along together, and we can get the school going pretty good.
All the students do get along well then?
I said the majority of them.
Okay. All right. I need your name. Can we reach him? Okay. What's your name?
I'm Chimanli.
Okay, you're going to have to spell it for me, okay?
Chimanlee.
Okay. But is that your first name or your last name? That goes to show how much I know.
My last name is Lee.
Lee? L-E-E?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been at Roxbury High?
Half a year.
Half a year?
Yeah. I came here only for a short time.
Why only for a short time?
I came here last Christmas.
Why? Were you transferred here, or did you just move to Boston, or?
Yeah, I just moved to Boston.
Okay. How do you like the school?
Very much.
Really? Why?
Because I think the students are very cooperate, and the teachers are very good to us. They teach us a lot of things. It's all good.
Are you in the college program, or?
I'm in the bilingual program.
The bilingual program. And the teachers are very helpful? Do you all get along well?
Yeah. They help us very much.
Okay. Crystal, what about, I'll take it, Rachi. You apparently like the school. What is it that you like about the school?
Well, mostly everything anyway. The teachers, the students, get along pretty well. Teachers will be able to help you a lot, help you out.
You never see any of the tension that marks the other schools in this school. I mean, everyone.
Well, I was in other school before for only a week. I didn't like it there.
What school is that?
Charlestown High. I didn't like it there, so I got transferred back here. This seems to be a pretty good school to me. I like it. I want to graduate from here anyway.
You want to graduate from here?
Yeah.
Why?
My friends, and principal, Mr. Ray, and the teachers also.
Everyone seems to like Charlie Ray a whole lot. What is the key to Charlie Ray?
He's nice and he helps you, talk to you, and make you do right from wrong.
He really takes an interest in the kids. Huh? How about you, Mark? Do you find that?
Yes, yes. I think if you have any problem or anything, you go to him and he can solve it for you or tell you what you can do and what's not. Well, about the school, this was the only school in Boston that I've been to so far. And I stick to one school because I like the system and the teachers. The teachers are really helpful to you. They're actually grateful for the students to come in. If you have any problems, you can ask them and they'll help you. If you don't understand the work and what's not, you just go to them after school or what's not, or set a date for them and they can help you.
So there's no thing here where at 2 o'clock the teachers rush out of the building and you can't find them? Okay. Are there activities, dances, proms, things like that you all do together that are fun, or is it basically just go to school here?
No, they have sports, and sometimes we have a fall festival.
What happens in that?
Well, we have activities all right through the school, outside and inside. Programs, films they show. We have food, drinks, music. Enjoyment.
What about sports? Are there good sports teams?
It all depends on the students. If we can get the students to come up and participate in all sports, then we can have good teams in all sports. Well, right now for the football team, most of the students is half and half from Roxbury and half from Copley. So, and the other students, the only thing they play is basketball. I mean, and just the majority of the school goes up for that.
Basketball is the big sport, huh?
Yes.
What about baseball? Any good baseball teams in the spring?
I haven't played baseball as yet. I can play baseball.
Domingo, did you play baseball last year?
Did you play baseball? Is it a good baseball team?
It's a good baseball team, but the way things are set up.
Okay, go ahead.
See, like we don't got our own park. We gotta go all the way to Eustis, and not that many people would like to walk all the way up there. So we don't really got a good team, but we should have a good team this year.
But it's just a real problem getting to the park, huh?
Yeah.
What about the football team, Ramon? Is it going to be a good football team this year?
I think so.
Yeah. What makes you think so?
This year, I think we're getting some good guys. And the team's beginning to look good now. So we might have a good team.
Okay. Okay.